It's one of the most secluded and pristine valleys of Switzerland. The Val Calanca to the south of Graubünden. It's Switzerland's smallest nature preserve and the only one in its Italian-speaking territory. Calanca means steep or sloping, and the valley rightly bears this name. It's deeply carved into the mountains. From the stone hamlets on the valley floor, it rises to an altitude of 3,200 meters. A majestic mountainscape with bleak rock faces and craggy ridges. Nestled in its midst, a lake, Lac di Calvaresque, the valley's landmark geological formation. Mario Toys comes here often. The nature documentary filmmaker loves the tranquility and seclusion of these mountains. The Lac di Calvaresque is one of his favorite subjects. It's heart-shaped.
Actually, it's an optical illusion. The lake is shaped more like a kidney or boot. In fact, you need to look at it from just the right perspective to delight in this beautiful image of a heart-shaped lake. Perhaps this is even typical for the entire valley. Here, nature's treasures are still tucked away in the wilderness. You have to make an effort to uncover them.
Mario Toys is a qualified forest engineer and event manager. For 3 years, he worked as a wildlife biologist and bear expert for the canton of Graubünden. He then moved from his hometown in Val Mustaya to Val Calanca, so he could pursue two passions, hunting and filmmaking.
Val Calanca is a rugged, untamed mountain valley, narrow and steep. Nature has reclaimed its crown here. In this valley, you will find the things that money can't buy: quiet and serenity. Wherever there are too many people, this is lost, and it never returns. Here, it still exists. And if you appreciate quiet and serenity, you'll fall in love with Val Calanca.
Mario Toys frequently spends days on end in the valley's mountains without encountering a soul. His camera is always at the ready. A nature lover, he has turned his passion into a profession. Today, he makes wildlife documentaries here.
The bearded vulture is always a highlight. The way it glides and plays with the wind. Beautiful animal. The bearded vulture faced extinction for a long time and has only returned to our wildlife kingdom in the past few decades. That makes seeing one all the more special. It's a privilege.
Marmots see it differently. The bearded vulture puts them on high alert.
Well, I'm assuming that marmots can't distinguish bearded vultures from eagles, which are probably well known to them as a deadly danger. Seeing one elicits an alarm call, which signals to the others that they must scurry into a hole, or at least get near one. Their behavior is the same in the presence of a bearded vulture. So, when you hear a marmot whistle, it's always worth looking up, because you might see something soaring in the air.
The bearded vultures, by the way, don't pose a danger for marmots. They eat only carrion and bones. The nature filmmaker knows the Val Calanca like no other. Its pristine nature, he says, offers wildlife an ideal habitat. The valley's most common ungulate is the deer. Its population has increased steadily in recent years. The red deer mating season is a fascinating spectacle of nature.
For me, watching a deer in the wild is a lot like watching a sunrise or sunset. I can never get enough of it. If you live here, you get an opportunity to see these things when you step outdoors in the evening. So why stay indoors?
Mario Toys observes the deer and their rituals until late in the evening. After spending a night in the mountain hut, he plans to trek to Fils de Nonant's Peak the next morning to film ibexes. The Val Calanca stretches 26 kilometers north to south. On a ridge at the valley entrance is the village of Santa Maria, with its parish church and medieval watchtower. First mentioned in the 13th century, this church is a cultural asset of national relevance. Just below Santa Maria is Castaneda. The name takes its cue from the chestnut groves that long surrounded this small village. The cultivation of these fruit trees was abandoned mid-last century when the chestnut trade ceased to be profitable enough. Chestnuts were gradually abandoned in favor of more robust tree species. Both the canton and the municipality are intent on saving what is left of the chestnut groves. Competing tree species are being felled to give the fruit trees the space they need to survive.
Is it working?
Forest engineer Luca Plotzer from the Office of Forests and Natural Hazards runs this project. Some 20 hectares of chestnut forest will be recultivated.
We want to preserve our culture. The chestnut has provided sustenance for locals here for centuries. It's an integral part of our culture.
The open spaces between the chestnut trees will now be regularly mowed to discourage the growth of competitors.
A sweet chestnut orchard is something very human. Without people, this area would soon be overgrown with trees. It happens so quickly. First, eagle ferns take root, then blackberries. After that, you get shrubs and trees. Within 10 years, everything's overgrown.
All around Castaneda today, you've got mixed forest. The fragile chestnuts can't thrive here because they need space and plenty of light. They don't tolerate other trees in close proximity.
This tree is about 300 to 500 years old, and it's suffering. This branch is partially snapped. Another storm would sever it completely. Here we have ash, cherry, maples and alders, which grow to a height of 20 meters or more. That's 15 meters higher than this old chestnut tree, which would be left without light. And without light, it loses vitality. It eventually dies.
Luca Plotzer estimates that the sweet chestnut trees in the mixed forests around Castaneda can only survive for another 10 to 20 years. It's critical to act quickly. The The crowns of the chestnut trees must be exposed so they can soak up more light. The forestry engineer can already point to some good results that were achieved at the south side of the village. Luca Plotzer and his team planted a chestnut grove here 9 years ago. It covers an area of about 1 hectare. Since then, this small piece of forest has been regularly tended to and debushed.
This is what the original chestnut groves used to look like here in Castaneda. There were large spaces between the chestnut trees, with grass in between. And here in this spot, they were terraced. We can still see remnants of the old dry stone walls.
Chestnut trees provide a habitat for many species.
Trees are microhabitats. They have various dead spots where different types of species can live. Their hollows can even house bats. And various types of flora, such as lichens, mosses, grow there. So, not just one creature, but a whole lot of creatures.
Intact chestnut forests thus also boost biodiversity. Approximately half of the Val Calanca is covered in forest. Nameless rivers and streams cascade the steep slopes from either side of the valley. Roaring waterfalls can be found throughout. The most spectacular is the Cascata del Frot near Augio. Here, water rushes into the valley from a height of 150 meters. The whitewater river Kalankasca flows through the valley's entire length. When it reaches Molina, it's dammed to create Lago di Puseno. Hydroelectricity has been produced here since 1951. One of the valley's many hiking trails runs above the reservoir. Today, Karen Falsoni's worksite is an approximately 30-acre dry meadow of national significance. She's headed there now. The Ticino-based biologist comes here several times each summer to do a butterfly and grasshopper count in the steep and rocky terrain.
Das ist der Kaisermantel.
This is the silver-washed fritillary, Argynnis paphia in Latin, probably a male considering the distinct and recurnial patches on the upper forewing, which attracts females. Normally, they are difficult to catch with a scoop net because they fly so erratically. But I got lucky.
Aber jetzt habe ich Glück gehabt.
For the longest time, this dry meadow was a paradise for butterflies and a habitat for rare species. In recent decades, however, trees and shrubs had encroached on it, leading to the disappearance of many butterflies. At the initiative of the Office for Environment and Nature Conservation, it was finally debushed 4 years ago. Karen Fausone has been checking on the butterfly population at regular intervals ever since.
This is the blue eye. It's on the red list of threatened species. It's not terribly rare, but you don't get to see it very often. This butterfly needs dry terrain, with lots of flowers and sun. It's not moving at all. It's playing dead, though it isn't. This behavior would lead an enemy to think it's dead and release it.
Befreien kann, weil der Feind denkt, ist tot, der lasse ich wieder frei.
The blue eye is one of the rare species that have resettled here. The butterfly sightings are registered on a special app. Karen Fausone's interest extends beyond butterflies. Grasshoppers are also part of her survey.
Many grasshopper species are also endangered. Just like butterflies, they are very sensitive. They need specific habitats to thrive. When these habitats are destroyed, they have a hard time surviving.
More than half of all grasshopper species in Switzerland are considered endangered. Some of them find the habitat they need right here. Hiking trails crisscross the forests and steep slopes of Val Calanca. Some spots can only be reached on foot or by cable car. Landarenka, for example. The little village with the distinctive stone houses is perched on a terrace high above the Kalankaska riverbank. At one time, more than 100 people lived here. Today, only 10 remain. They live from tourism. Farming has long since ceased to be worthwhile. The only major business in the valley is the quarry in Arvigo. Calanca gneiss has been quarried here for more than 100 years. Some 20,000 cubic meters are extracted annually. Company director Giovanni Polti has been running the family business for 30 years. He's the third generation of his family to do so. Just like most days, a blasting is scheduled for today. A huge block of stone, weighing several tons, is to be split into 5 smaller sections. Holes have already been drilled into the gneiss. The plastic-coated high-explosive powder is inserted into these.
This explosive doesn't damage the material because it works from hole to hole. Obviously, the drill holes have to be close enough to achieve a cutting effect, so to speak. But we don't want the explosive to blast into the rock and cause cracks.
Having some water in the cavities optimizes blast effectiveness. A 5-centimeter thick layer of sand is designed to dampen the energy of the blast wave. Then the explosive is connected to the detonating cord. At a safe distance, Giovanni Polti triggers the detonation. The stone blocks will be shaped into facing panels for bridge pillars along the Rhaetian Railway.
That worked nicely. The quality is good for this purpose. There's a little floor on the other side, but we'll be able to cut out cover panels from it.
The quarry in Arvigo is one of Switzerland's largest. It's also one of the steepest.
We have difficult quarry conditions here because of the gradient. We have a slope angle of about 30 degrees towards us, which doesn't work in our favor. Unfortunately, with today's mining methods, that makes our work very difficult. I'd be happy to have a vertical or horizontal quarry, but as I like to say, the quarry compares to a beautiful woman. We have the most beautiful material, but it's difficult to get at.
Giovanni Polti's father, Alfredo, established the company in 1950. His father was a pioneer in the field of gneiss quarrying. He was the first to begin exploiting the valuable natural stone quarry in 1920 in the valley of Calanca.
It was very hard work back then. The holes were drilled by hand, not with hydraulic machines like we just saw. One man used to hold an iron rod while two men on the sides whacked it with a large hammer. They had to give the iron rod a quarter turn after each hit. Those were the days.
Today we have modern machinery to help quarry and process the natural stone. The finishing touches are still performed by hand. But the future of the company is uncertain. In about 20 years, this quarry will run out of gneiss.
The idea is to start mining underground at that point. We launched a trial here a few years ago. In the coming years, we'll have to see whether this would be economically and technically feasible. I think we're obligated to give it a try so that in 100 years, Arvigo will still have a quarry site and nice processing.
The Friendship Bridge, built in the 16th century, spans the Kalankasca River at the town's exit. The little river's pure spring water is enticing, and not just for those who want to take a dip. The boulders and scree on the riverbanks and in the riverbed are reminders of the landslides that occur periodically in this narrow valley. To make these steep slopes farmable, for centuries the locals built dry stone walls. In the Rossa, at the northern tip of the valley, archaeologists uncovered the settlement of Scatta. Built at the beginning of the 16th century, it has more than a kilometre of terraced walls, on whose surface crops were grown. Such dry stone walls can still be found everywhere in the Calanca Valley, especially at its steepest sections. Braggio is the valley's highest village. Like Landarenka, Braggio too can only be reached on foot or by cable car. The organic farm, Azienda Refontana, is ensconced on sloping terrain. Katrin Stoll and Roland Wiedeker live and work here. They've laid out terraced gardens in which they grow flowers, vegetables, fruit trees and herbs. The dry stone walls that Roland Wiedeker has been building over the years, using an age-old masonry technique without mortar and concrete, makes this possible.
No one taught me this. I just studied the existing walls. And I have to say, I have a tremendous respect for the people who built them. They didn't just build 1.5-meter high walls. They built 5-meter high stables that are wonderful, in and outside, covered by heavy stone roofs. And they've withstood the centuries.
Stones abound in the rocky, nice soil. The trick lies in stacking and canting them in such a way that a sturdy wall results.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Over time, you develop an eye for the stones. When you have a lot of stones to choose from, and some practice, you figure out where you can piece together the ones you're working with. It's fun.
Katrin Stoll is growing alpine herbs on the small terraces. When the plants have been harvested, they are gently dried and processed into a variety of concoctions. She specializes in tea blends, growing about 20 different herbs for this purpose.
You don't always get it right at first. It's trial and error. There have been times when I obsessed with a tea blend for 2 or 3 months. I kept tweaking it until I got it right. Occasionally, though, what I have in mind works right away in practice. I prepare a blend, and it's just what I had envisioned.
In addition to tea, she also makes tinctures, ointments, and aromatic oils, which she sells at local farmers' markets. Plants, fruits and vegetables thrive in Azienda Refontana. But as an added ecological benefit, the warmth-storing dry stone walls also give shelter to numerous animals. Thus, in Braggio, a little ark has emerged. Agriculture in harmony with nature.
Obviously, we can't feed all of humanity with such farms. I'm well aware of that. But we try to give nature a chance to survive. In the future, it will be important to have preserved such arks or refuges. Until we come to our senses again, we need them to protect threatened animal and plant species.
Val Calanca's formation is exclusively down to erosion by water and glaciers. From the valley floor, the mountains rise all the way up to the Punton di Fraction, 3,200 meters above sea level. there are several mountain passes that lead to the neighboring valleys of Misox, Riviera, and Blenio. The topography of Val Calanca, with its extremely steep mountainsides, requires special precautions to safeguard the local population. Davide Lurati of the Forest and Natural Hazards Office is responsible for keeping the valley's inhabitants safe. The forestry engineer is inspecting a construction site at an altitude of almost 2,500 meters above Braggio. Avalanche barriers are being installed on the steeply sloping terrain to keep inhabitants safe from potential natural disasters.
We face various natural hazards here in the Valley of Calanca. Rockfalls, landslides, floods, debris flows, as well as avalanches.
A fear of the forces of nature is omnipresent here in the valley. The locals have been struck by disasters too many times.
Braggio has already witnessed numerous avalanches. Some have resulted in deaths and extensive damage to houses, stables, and so on.
Dry stone walls were used to protect against rockfall and snow avalanches for the longest time. But now they're being replaced by modern steel structures.
Ecco, come funziona la perforazione?
These structures are anchored in the rocky terrain to a depth of up to 8 meters.
Compared to the dry walls, the deeply anchored steel structures offer much more protection against avalanches. And at up to 4 meters high, they dwarf the dry stone walls, which measure a mere 1.5 meters.
The idyllic mountainscape of Val Calanca belies the treacherous conditions here. It will be difficult to find an area of Switzerland that's more exposed to the forces of nature. To help shore up the avalanche barriers, Lurati's office also relies on the protective effect of the forest. Especially the dense fir, spruce and large forests in high elevations are designed to prevent landslides, rockfall and floods. Davide Lurati often ventures into these forests to assess their condition. Only healthy and robust trees can stand up to snow and debris avalanches. The right balance of young and old trees is crucial.
In Val Calanca, our old forests are gradually becoming less robust. We need new growth, new forest to reinforce their protective function. Some old trees, like this one, have been felled to expose the forest floor to light. Sunlight and warmth boosts the growth of young trees, as we can see here.
These new trees are 15 years old, and to some degree, they already perform protective functions. Today, an intact, healthy forest is more important than ever as a defense against natural hazards.
Climate change goes hand in hand with extreme weather events. This year we've seen very severe weather, and it's happening more and more often. We've experienced this in the past, of course, but neither with such frequency nor intensity. We're worried that things will get even worse in the coming years.
Like many alpine valleys, the Val Calanca has also been blighted by depopulation. Only about 800 people live there today. Young people are drawn to the cities where they find work. In recent years, however, this trend has reversed slightly, in part due to a rise in tourism. The unspoiled landscape in the southern Graubünden Valley is attracting more and more visitors. High-altitude trekking tours in the nature park are particularly popular. The challenging Sentiero Alpino Calanca Trail clings to the steep flanks and gorges that cut through the mountain crests. The 42-kilometer hike of several days' duration takes participants far away from civilization. Now and again, the trail skirts alpine pastures, including the Alpstabweder, at an altitude of just under 2,000 meters. It serves as the summer pasture for more than 180 goats. Dorothea Rigonali, a German Swiss, is the leaseholder. She's lived in Val Calanca for 40 years, and for most of this time, she's been keeping goats. Several different breeds of goats graze on the Stabweder alpine pasture. Dorothea is particularly fond of the Capra Grigia breed of grey mountain goats, which barely escaped extinction thanks to Dorothea Rigonali and the Pro Specio Rara Foundation.
Ich habe selber immer gedacht, ja, das ist schön, diese grauen Ziegen, aber ich habe nie...
I've always loved these beautiful grey goats, but I never gave any thought to the breed. I just had the desire to save this grey goat because I like the colour, which is like the rocks, like a granite stone. So that's why I gave it a try.
Deshalb habe ich das ein bisschen probiert.
In the meantime, there are several hundred of these grey mountain goats. They're perfectly adapted to their environment.
Es ist eine robuste Ziege, die sehr hierher
This is a hardy goat that naturally fits into this habitat.
Milchziege,
It may not be the best
aber,
milk-producing goat, but overall it has a lot to offer.
Einiges zusammen und
Even
bei
after
uns
the
ist
alpine
so,
grazing period
auch
ends,
nach der Alpzeit
these
ist
goats
es
stay on the
eigentlich
mountainside through October,
noch bis im Oktober in
so they need to be robust.
Und deshalb braucht es einfach diese Robustheit.
The goat milk is processed into cheese on the alpine pastures. Henrietta Lentz still stirs and cuts the curd by hand.
Ich habe einfach das Gefühl dann für den Käse.
I have developed a feel for the cheese, for the curd grains.
Ich sehe viel mehr,
I see and feel much more when I do this by
wenn
hand.
ich das von Hand mache.
And I'm convinced that this method produces better cheese.
Überzeugt, am Ende ist der Käse besser.
She skims off the curds using a traditional cheesecloth. The Thuringian has already spent 8 consecutive summers up here in Alpstabweder. The cheese she produces is regarded as particularly tasty. In fact, it was twice designated as the canton's best cheese.
Mir ist wichtig, dass man den Berg
To me, it's
schmeckt,
important that you can taste the mountain, that you can taste the love and the work that goes into it. I want the cheese to reflect the essence of a summer spent on alpine pastures.
wiedergibt.
The goats live outdoors on the Stabweder alpine pasture day and night. They only see the inside of a stable when they're milked. They forage for their own food. All the while, they play an important role in preserving the landscape. By eating the buds and leaves of plants, goats prevent the mountain pastures from becoming overgrown.
Die Ziege ist für unsere Alpen ein wichtiges Tier.
Goats are critically important for our mountains.
Schnell verbuscht.
We have an area here that quickly becomes overgrown with shrubs if it's not mowed.
Dann ist so
Here in the Alps, we notice climate change.
und hier auf den Alpen
We see that the forest line keeps climbing higher, and so it's crucial to keep the pastures open for a wide variety of plant and animal
die
species.
Flächen, die noch
And
offen
this
sind,
is possible with the help of grazing goats.
noch gut beweidet werden.
Henrietta Lenz produces a variety of cheeses. Once a week, Dorothea Rigonali carries her products down to the valley where they're sold at farmers' markets.
Ja. Das ist schön, ja. Okay, so ein
Alpine cheese and a raclette.
Ja, ich habe noch 2 Gouda unten.
These days, the goat farmer is alarmed by the sighting of wolves in a neighbouring valley. It's only a matter of time, she believes, before these predators will show up on her mountain pasture. Valcalanca's quiet and peaceful setting is also down to the fact that there is no through traffic. The road ends in the far north of Rossa. But while this little village is very secluded, remarkable things are happening here. It began in 2017 with the construction of a summer cottage, a colourful 40-metre-high work of art that the entire region was buzzing about. The Lugano-based architect Davide Macullo is also its owner. Like so many others, his grandparents left Valcalanca a long time ago to take on the wider world. But for Macullo, the time had come to return to his ancestral valley.
For me, the Valley of Calanca represents a protected place, a spot where I can regenerate, gather new strength and regain my focus. It's very productive to work in quiet seclusion here. After getting to know the world, I rediscovered nature in Valcalanca.
Davide Macullo has a vision. He wants to transform Rossa into an artist's colony, to stem the exodus from this community of 150 people. Together with Sepp Steiger, a carpenter, he's hoping to set up wooden installations in the forests just outside the village. The first so-called ice space has been ready for months. Today, one last wooden element will be added. The installation is intended as a space for encounters. Indeed, Davide Macullo suggests that this artwork will be used in a wide variety of ways.
With this first structure, we noticed that people who came here started having conversations with one another. That's wonderful, a great success. People came to meditate, to do yoga. A teacher wrote poetry for children up here and then returned to read it with the kids. It's nice to see a small space like this draw in all these people who really liven it up.
10 such spherical structures will soon fringe a hiking trail in the larch forest bordering Rossa. The Ross Arta Foundation, which Davide Macullo founded together with art enthusiasts from the region, will finance its construction.
This isn't art that's simply put on display. This is art that's experienced on a daily basis. It's not something you just look at, but something you live in.
An art project by Davide Macullo and Ross Arta had already caused a stir in 2019. They commissioned the British-Swiss sculptor and conceptual artist David Tremlett to paint the exterior walls of 3 historic chapels in Rossa. Two of these boldly coloured chapels can be seen perched on a rocky outcrop above the village. The residents of Rossa first met this project idea with skepticism. But over time, the architect from Lugano was able to win over the community, along with local church representatives, to the idea of colourful places of worship.
Die Leute hier sind sehr offene
The
Leute.
locals are very open-minded.
Den Künstlern während einen
During the course of a summer, they lived with the artists. They ate together, danced together, celebrated together, and worked together. It was wonderful to watch this artwork evolve along with the community. It was magical.
Wunder an diesem Ort.
Davide Maculo has more plans up his sleeve for Rossa. A conference centre with ateliers, a museum, and affordable lodging for young artists. Things are really happening in this little village at the far end of the Calanca Valley. Back to the Graubünden Alps, high up on the mountain. Wildlife filmmaker Mario Toys spent the night at the Buffalora Hut. This mountain hut is the most important stopover on the challenging Sentiero Alpino Calanca Trail. The narrow trail is a challenge even for seasoned hikers. The steep and stony slopes demand both endurance and sure-footedness. Today, Mario Toys hopes to capture ibex with his camera. At the foot of the Nornon summit, at an altitude of 2,500 meters, he finds what he's looking for.
At first, they were grazing here on this plateau, but when they noticed a couple of hikers, they retreated to the rocky outcrops. They've been there ever since, and they now feel safe again. They let us get very, very close. We might even be able to get closer.
The documentary maker is able to get within just a few meters of the ibex.
Yes, this is brilliant. If you're able to locate them, it's amazing how close they let you get. It makes for really great photos.
The ibex is an icon of the Alps. Capturing one on film against this fantastic mountain backdrop means the exhausting climb has paid off for the filmmaker.
Ich finde hier einfach das, was mich glücklich macht und
I find what makes me happy here.
schöne Landschaften und
Beautiful landscapes and wildlife. The Calanca Valley has it all.
Dementsprechend, ja.
This tells me that I'm in the right place at the right time.
Ort zur richtigen Zeit bin.
This is Mario Toys' chosen home. He yearns for seclusion and a life lived in harmony with nature. In the wilderness of the Calanca Valley, with its rugged mountains and endless forests, such a life is still possible today.